Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about multiplying by two-digit numbers. And when we're talking about multiplying by two-digit numbers, our target or our learning goal for you all today is that you will be able to multiply by two-digit numbers. Okay, we're going to start our practice off by looking at a word problem. So read this word problem with me. Suppose the Siberian tiger in the wild eats an average of 18 pounds of food per day. How much food will the tiger eat in 28 days if he eats that amount each day? So if I look closely, I'm going to go through and I'm going to go ahead and circle my numbers that I'll be using. My first number is 18. That's how many pounds he eats per day. My second number is 28. And 28 days is the number of days that he's eating 18 pounds of food per day. So my question's asking, how much food will the tiger eat in this total of 28 days if he's eating this 18 pounds each day? So the operation that I'm going to use to solve this problem to find out how much total food the tiger is going to be eating over 28 days is I'm going to take 28 and I'm going to multiply it times 18. Now when I'm multiplying a two-digit number, there are a couple of different strategies that you can use to solve this problem, okay? The one that you're probably the most familiar with is using the area model. The area model is probably what you are used to seeing in 4th grade. So I'm going to start by showing that to you. But here in 5th grade, we want you guys to start being able to use the standard algorithm. And I'll show you guys what that looks like here in just a second. But let's start off by looking at the area model, okay? There are a couple of steps to be able to multiply two-digit numbers using an area model. The first is that you're going to write the expanded form of each factor. This is a factor, and this is a factor, along the vertical and horizontal lines or sides of an area model, and multiply to find all the partial products. So let's go ahead and start by finding the expanded form of 28. When I'm finding the expanded form, I am taking the ones place and I'm separating it from the tens place. So in the ones place I have an 8, so I'm going to put that 8 right here. And in the tens place I have a 2. Now, very important, that is not just a 2, that is actually 2 tens. So I'm going to be writing 20 because 2 tens is the same as 20. Alright, so here's my expanded form of my first factor. And now we're going to write the expanded form of our second factor, which is 18. In the ones place, we have an 8. So that'll go down here at the bottom. And in the tens place, we only have 1 10. So I'll just write 1 10 over here. And now we multiply. I'm going to put my multiplication symbol up here in the corner. So that reminds me what I'm doing. 10 times 20 is 200. That's my first partial product. 10 times 8 equals 80. Next, 20 times 8 is 160. And 8 times 8 is 64. All right, so I have 4 partial products right here, okay? Now, when we are using standard algorithm, you're going to only be finding 2 partial products, okay? But in this case, when we're using the area model, we are finding 4 partial products. 1, 2, 3, 4. And our last step, or our second step, is to just go through and add all of our partial products together. So I'm going to go ahead and write them. I generally like to do from largest number to smallest. So 100 or 200, 160, 80, and 64. And I'm going to save us some time, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you what our final product is going to be. And the answer is 504. Okay, so we add all of these numbers together and we get our final product to the division problem multiplication problem, I'm sorry, 28 times 18. So our final product is 504. All right, so that's the strategy that probably looks a little bit more familiar to you all. However, the strategy that we want to be learning today is using standard algorithm. So we're going to look at the same word problem, okay? Same tiger, same amount of food, same number of days. So we have the same factors, which are 28 and 18. Now, standard algorithm means that you're actually going to be stacking your two factors one on top of the other. So I'm going to have 28 here on the top, and then I'm going to have my multiplication symbol, and then I'm going to put 18 directly underneath it. And if you'll notice, I'm lining up the place values. So I want my ones place value to be in a line, and I want my tens place value to be in a line. And if I have anything in the hundreds place over here ever, I'd want that to be here in the hundreds place. You need to make sure everything stays lined up. Now, let's think back. When we were doing the area model, what we did was we did it in parts. We got partial products, okay? And that's the same thing that you do when you're doing standard algorithm. It just looks a little bit different. But to make it a little bit easier on you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this. But I'm going to rewrite this second factor right here. I'm going to rewrite it without its tens place at first. Okay, I'm going to leave space for it. I'm going to leave that blank. But I'm going to just put in my ones place. Okay, now this looks pretty familiar because this is what we did in 4th grade, is we multiplied one-digit numbers. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the product to 28 times 8. 8 times 8 is 64, so I'm going to regroup my 6 into the tens place, and I'm going to put my 4 down here in the ones. 8 times 2 is 16, and then 16 plus 6 is what? 16 plus 6 would be 22. So my first partial product here is 224. All right, now here's where we have the new place value come in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cross off. Now I'm just going to put one clean line through. I'm not going to scribble it out because I still need to see that digit. However, I'm going to cross it out because I'm done using that number. I found my partial product of the ones place. Now I'm going to add in the tens place. Okay, so I'm going to put my 1 right here. Now, this is very, very important. You are now going to put a placeholder 0 in the ones place. Okay? Now the reason I do that is because we're actually now multiplying tens by these two digits. Okay? So I'm always going to start here at the tens, or I'm going to go to the tens place. Now, I don't multiply tens times tens. I always multiply tens times 1 first. So when I'm multiplying the ones, I do ones times ones place. And then when I go to the tens place, I do tens place times ones place. Okay? So I'm going to start off by multiplying 1 times 8. And that would be 8. Now, if you think about it, really what I just did is I did 10 times 8, which would be 80. So that's really why it makes a lot more sense to have the 0 here. Okay, but you can also think of it as a placeholder because nothing's going in that ones place. Next, I'm going to do 1 times 2. I'm going to cross this out really quick so we don't get mixed up. 1 times 2, and that would be 2. And if you think about it, I'm doing 10 times 20. 10 times 20 is 200, but I'm going to add it right in here with my 80 that I got before from multiplying 10 times 8. All right, so I now have two partial products, 224 and 280. I'm going to go ahead and add them together to find my final product. And my final product is 504. Oh, goodness. So I'm going to redraw that. Okay, my final product is 504. Does that match the product we got before? Yes, it does. And a good thing to do is, if you're not quite sure of yourself, is to use the standard algorithm first, but then go back and check your answer using the area model, which is actually what you're going to do to find your turn answers. Okay, so you have two questions, but when you're finding these two questions, you are going to use the standard algorithm, and then you're going to check your answer using the area model. So on your whisk, you need to be using standard algorithm and the area model to check your answers. Don't forget to turn in the assignment on Edmodo and write Miss Cassidy or Miss Clemens, I have completed my assignment, and then hit turn in a second time. See you all tomorrow.